Water.
I don't think
Earth. Fire. Air.
The four nations were once in harmony until Avatar decided to block my video. So this is a disclaimer that if you see any weird like B-roll or whatever, the reason why is because I had to put over B-roll the actual footage that got copyrighted. So yeah, if you just see me and my friend doing something random, then that's why that's there. It's not just like some weird editing choice. It's like I have to actually do that. But yeah, enjoy. This video is focused more around the lessons that can be learned from this show rather than the story itself. So we are going to be looking at the main characters, how they develop, and how we can learn from their experiences, but we're not going over the entire story. So yeah, let's just start with this video with the best character in this entire show. Zuko is my favorite character as he is, in my opinion, the most clear showing of how self-improvement really is, right? He comes from a past of trauma, and we can see how he struggles with his identity, how he makes mistakes, right? He's not perfect, and he makes a bunch of dumb decisions. And that is why this show and Zuko as a character are so good. They are so relatable, right? They're so real. We can relate to them to some extent as we too make dumb decisions. We too fail at a bunch of stuff that we try, right? That is why despite them not being real people, we can still learn from their actions. So let's start this chapter off by looking at Zuko's past. Zuko is the prince of the Fire Nation and he's heir to the throne, and he gets invited to a meeting discussing strategy for the war against all the other nations. And one of the generals proposes a plan to sacrifice a, group or a battalion of new firebenders, like they're rookies. They just got out the camp pretty much. And Zuko, being a good person, he speaks up and discourages the idea. However, since he's a kid, it was not his place to do so. His father, Fire Lord Ozai, sees it as a sign of disrespect, not only to the general, but to himself. So he punishes Zuko by challenging him to an Agni Kai, which is pretty much just a duel in the Fire Nation. And Zuko, being a kid and also the enemy being the Fire Lord, he doesn't want to fight his dad, right? So in doing that action of not wanting to fight his dad sees it as further disrespect and like no honor pretty much. Ozai scars him and then also kicks him out the Fire Nation saying, hey, you're banished, go get the Avatar. Which is kind of like the Holy Grail because he hasn't been seen in like 100 years. So he is sent out with the expectation that he will never return. Zuko's uncle accompanies him on his banishment, and that's the first thing that I want to talk about in this video. Zuko's uncle is one big reason why he changes so drastically. If Zuko's uncle wasn't there, if Iroh wasn't there to give him advice or to like guide him in the right direction, then Zuko probably wouldn't have joined up with like Aang. Good counsel is very important. So try to find someone that you can learn from, whether it's somebody older than you with more experience or somebody that's like side by side, maybe the same age, that's going through the same path, somebody that can check you. About a month ago, I finished reading Proverbs, and it speaks a lot about the idea that a wise person has many counselors. So it's safe to say that it's wise to have people who can correct your mistakes that you yourself cannot see. So yeah, good counsel is very valuable. But let's move on to the next thing, which is Zuko's struggle with his identity. Zuko and Iroh defect from the Fire Nation. Like, they're not just banished anymore, they're like going against it actively. They're becoming fugitives. And as he spends more and more time in the Earth Kingdom, as well as just with Iroh, we start to see that his goal of capturing the Avatar is kind of lightening up. He's not pursuing it as much as he used to. He starts to have an internal struggle. There's still a part of him that wants to go back to the Fire Nation with his honor and his father's approval, but there's also another part of him that's growing that no longer cares for that, instead wanting to just be a better person. Zuko and Iroh were both in Ba Sing Se as owners of like this tea spot or whatever when Zuko hits the peak of his internal conflict. Like, he gets physically sick from the struggle, and though it may not be the exact same thing, it shows us that self-improvement isn't easy. Becoming a new person is not frictionless, right? There will be a bunch of pushback from your past self. Don't expect to be having an easy time improving yourself. Don't be like, oh, it's gonna be a cakewalk. I'm gonna be this new person. Ain't no struggles at all. That's just wrong. There's gonna be struggles. There's gonna be friction. You gotta accept that it will be difficult, and you have to push past that difficulty to be your best self. After he recovers from the sickness caused by his internal conflict, we see that his mentality has shifted. It's different. He no longer has that desire to return to the Fire Nation, at least at the surface. He seems much more similar to Iroh in his demeanor. But what he does next is another thing we must be aware of. Zuko is confronted with a way to return to the Fire Nation with his honor. And though he's trying to change, he makes the mistake of taking it, falling back into the old man. You know, when we're trying to be new people, whether you're addicted to something or you were lazy or any other thing that you're trying to change, it's a possibility that at some point you will fall back into that action, right? It's important that we understand this, as if we are going into improving ourselves without knowing that we may fail at some point, when that failure comes, we may we may forsake all the progress that we've made. We might say that our efforts were for nothing, right? But that is not true. When we fall, we must get back up and keep working hard to change ourselves. Zuko returns to the Fire Nation, and he's like, the whole public loves him, right? His sister Azula, which we haven't talked about her yet, but she says she made a lie saying that he killed the Avatar, which if you haven't watched the show, like I said already, that isn't the truth. The more time that he's in the Fire Nation, the more regret that he has. At first he thought he got what he wanted. He has his honor back. Everybody loves him now. But deep down inside, he knows that he made the wrong decision. During the day of the Black Sun, which is just a solar eclipse, but that's the name of the episode, he confronts his father for all the things that he did to him in the past. He had a lot of time to think, and he chose that it was not his destiny to kill the Avatar, but to train the Avatar to defeat his father. During the solar eclipse, the Firebenders, they can't firebend, but as soon as the firebending came back, Ozai attacked him with some lightning. But the lessons from Iroh taught him to redirect it, which is just another showing of why good counsel is so valuable. Zuko made a mistake of betraying his uncle and fighting against the Avatar. However, he understood what he did was wrong and he changed course. It's kind of like a smaller point, but you aren't dead set into going in one direction. If you realize you are mistaken, you have time to change. Broadly speaking, of course there's some parts where it's like, you flew a plane wrong or something, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's some, for overall, that's true. You aren't dead set into going into one direction. It's important to forgive yourself, right? If you mess up and you're trying to make it right, forgiving yourself is necessary. If you keep that self-resentment, then it only makes it harder to make it better. Zuko leaves the Fire Nation to go teach the Avatar fire bending, but when he asks if he can help, they shut him down. Like, of course they would, right? He's been hunting the Avatar for years. And during that time, he hired a man to go kill the Avatar. Combustion Man is what they called him. And that man shows up once again, and despite it being against Zuko's wishes, he tries to kill the Avatar because that's what he was paid to do. Zuko doesn't get forgiveness from the others by asking, but by showing that he deserves it through his actions. He helps protect them against the combustion guy. And since we're on the topic of forgiveness, this brings me to another point. If they didn't forgive Zuko, Aang may not have been able to defeat Ozai. Like, it's like debatable. He might have been able to, he might not have been. But not only that, but Katara would have lost to Azula. The world would have been taken over by the Fire Nation because they didn't forgive Zuko. But because they did, they were able to win the war in the end. After the war ended, Zuko became the new Fire Lord, and he teamed up with Aang to create a better world. Zuko went from a banished, dishonored prince chasing a seemingly impossible goal of killing the Avatar to becoming the Fire Lord and changing the world for the better with the Avatar. Zuko's journey teaches us many things: that you can redeem yourself, that you can change who you are in your future, that change isn't easy, but with the help of others, it can be done. It's impossible to fully show his journey and how much impact it can have on you, so in this video, I couldn't really get all of that, so I suggest that you watch the series yourself if you haven't already. As I said earlier, Zuko had a lot of help changing, and most of that help came from Uncle Iroh is already somebody that has walked the path of self-improvement that we see Zuko walking in the series. He's the end point, right? Zuko shows the path towards becoming someone like Iroh. Iroh is a really strong firebender. He's the original heir to the Fire Nation throne. But unlike his brother, he is also kind and nurturing. Iroh teaches us that when it is no longer our time, we should help the next generation. He teaches that kindness to all is needed. But he doesn't confuse kindness with weakness. Like, he's not just some pushover dude that can just be, oh, everybody gotta be kind. Like, he says that, but then also has the ability to back it up. You know what I'm saying? I realized I've already kind of talked about this before in another video, so go check out the Vinland Saga video. It's the exact same type of video as this, just in the description. But yeah. He sets an example for how we should strive to be, both kind and strong, nurturing the next generation so that they can take our place. And I didn't have much else to say about Iroh, to be honest with you, but I just didn't want to leave him out. He's such a good character. So, yeah. Now let's move on to talking about the main character of the whole show. In this world, there is a being known as the Avatar, which is someone that can use all 4 elements. And when the Avatar dies, they are reincarnated, like in a cycle, into another nation. Aang was born into a world that was about to be at war. He was trained as a monk in the Air Temple by a man named Monk Gyatso, and Gyatso is one of a couple leaders of the temple. And the other leaders thought, hey, Gyatso and Aang, they getting too close, right? We're gonna have to separate them. Aang overheard this and he decided to flee the temple, just I guess he was scared or something like that. And coincidentally, at that time, the Fire Nation was preparing to kill all the airbenders, which gives us the name of the show, Avatar, the Last Airbender. While Aang is flying away, he gets caught in a storm, and that's when the Avatar state activates, saving his life but also sealing him in an iceberg for like 100 years. For him, he wakes up just a few moments later in a whole new world. The Fire Nation has brought war to the other nations, preparing to destroy the Earth Kingdom the same way they did to the Air Nomads, using the Sozin's Comet, which gives power to the Firebenders. It's like a multiplier. Aang struggles with the idea that he abandoned the world. He thinks that he ran away from all the responsibility that he has as the Avatar, and that he could have done something to change the outcome, that he could have helped protect the Air Nomads. But eventually, he realizes that there is no reason to dwell in the past. The fact is that he is here now, so he should make the most of it. Aang teaches us that we must not dwell on what happened, but on what we can do now. It is better to start late than to never start to begin with, and if we don't let go of the past and focus on the present, then you never have the chance to make the past right. Like with Zuko, right? Zuko had the same thing. Aang teaches us as well to forgive ourselves for our past mistakes and to try to move forward to do the right thing and make up for our wrongs. We can learn a lot from Aang through his actions, one of those actions being choosing his own way to resolve conflict. Many people believe that sometimes it's necessary to kill others in order to achieve a means. However, Aang shows us otherwise on 2 separate occasions. So early in the first season, I think it's the Book of Water or something like that, he comes across 2 groups which have been fighting for 100 years. They hate each other. They are dead set on killing each other. However, Aang shows them that it wasn't necessary. He showed them that despite their past grievances, they can still cooperate, that killing each other wasn't the only answer. And yeah, he did lie to make it happen, so maybe that goes against it, but I don't know if that goes against that or not, but that's just one example. But the more impactful time was with the Fire Lord. Sozin's comet was going to arrive soon, and everyone had been telling Aang, hey, come on dude, you gotta kill the Fire Lord, man, it's the only way. Even the past avatars, even the other airbender one, they was like, hey, you gotta kill this dude. But that didn't sit right with him. It went against his beliefs. He didn't believe that that was the only way to stop the conflict. He decided to spare the Fire Lord, just taking his bending away, but keeping his life. He showed mercy. Despite all the things that Ozai did, he did not kill him. He broke the path everyone made for him. He chose his own destiny. He didn't let others choose it for him. He resolved the conflict in his own way, no killing. Other people may lay a path down for you to follow, but in the end, you're the one that chooses where you're gonna go. Like Aang, if you're being forced down a certain path, you are able to break free from it and choose the path that is for you. Unless it's something of course there's extreme examples where it's you're in prison or something, but you get what I'm saying. Overall in life, you don't have to be forced down a specific path. You have multiple paths you can choose from. They may try to push you down a certain path, but you, in the end, decide which path you go down. And there's a lot of other things that Aang can teach us through his actions and just overall the story, but for the sake of time, I want to move on to the rest of the characters. Katara is the last waterbender from the Southern Water Tribe. When the Fire Nation declared war on the rest of the nations, they captured almost all of the waterbenders from the Southern Water Tribe. When the Fire Nation got reports that there was one more that they missed, they raided once again, and Katara's mother claimed that she was the last waterbender, and so she was killed in front of Katara, and Katara never forgot that face. As she traveled with Aang and the rest of the group, she grew stronger and stronger in her ability. Eventually, when Zuko joined the group, he gave her an opportunity to get revenge, to kill the man that killed her mother. Blinded by her desire for vengeance, she accepts and they begin searching for the man. When they find him, Katara displays her power. She could kill him in an instant, but in the end, she decides to spare him. She realizes that revenge is not the only way to heal from the trauma that she has. Killing him would not change what has already happened. You're just causing more harm to an already bad situation. Katara's story teaches us that healing does not come from vengeance. And I know there's so much more I can cover on Katara, however I want to just touch on one thing from each character, so yeah. That's it for Katara. Our next character we're going to be looking at is going to be Toph was born into a wealthy family from the Earth Kingdom. However, she was also born deaf. Her parents kind of babied her because of this, and they thought that she couldn't possibly become anything more than the fragile little girl that they saw her as. One day, Toph was just crawling around or something when she was a kid, and she stumbled upon the original Earthbenders, which are the Badger Moles, and through them, she learned Earthbending. And also something called seismic vision or something, I don't know, it's seismic something, she learns that as well. She continues to practice and eventually starts competing against other Earthbenders in this, I think it's an underground arena, and she becomes the champion of that arena, and no one could beat her. She was undefeated. Toph didn't let her blindness stop her from being her best, and we should do the same, right? Most of us aren't blind, but we all have some sort of thing that limits us that we cannot control. Let us continue to do whatever we want to do regardless of that fact. Whatever we can't control, we just gotta push it off, right? We must make the most of what we have. There's no reason to really focus on what we can't control, right? It's imagine saying, I don't like the moon, so I'm gonna look at it all day, trying to push it away. It's we can't do anything about it, so there's no point. It's just a waste of time. We can make progress if we focus on the things that we can control. Much like Aang, Toph also goes against others' wishes for her. She decides to choose her own route. The same lesson can be learned, right? You're the one who chooses your own path. Don't let others push you down one you don't care for. And that brings us to the final member of the main group. And I'm sorry if I feel like I'm not talking about these characters enough, but I just don't want this video to be super long. But yeah, next character. Sokka is somebody that cannot bend any of the elements, so he just mainly uses weapons as his source of strength, right? Close quarters combat pretty much. And in the beginning of the show, Sokka is kind of sexist, right? It's not that he hates women, but he grew up in a village that had no women fighters, so it's kind of If you grow up in a spot like that, you kind of are pushed into believing that they couldn't fight. Anyways, when the group goes to Kyoshi Island, we meet the Kyoshi warriors, and they can't bend. They're just like Sokka, but they still are a strong group. They managed to actually, like with a sneak attack, they take down the group. Once Sokka realizes that he got beat up by a bunch of girls, he goes to the Kyoshi warriors for training. He realizes his mistake in judging them off of their sex. He humbles himself, and that is when he grows as a warrior and as a person. Humility is key for our growth. If we think that we're above others, that like we have nothing to learn, and you guys don't know nothing, right? Then we're gonna stay the same. If you want to be the best that we can be, we must humble ourselves and have open ears to those that have advice. And not saying that we have to take everybody's advice, but there's no wrong in listening to it. And I know we already talked about this. If I feel kind of repetitive with going over certain points, because a lot of these characters kind of have like overlapping like lessons, I guess you could say. But like with Toph, Sokka also shows us that we must focus on things that are in our control. He comes to terms with his lack of bending, and he focuses on more strategic, more mind stuff. He can't bend any of the elements, so he focuses more on being the brains of the operation, right? He's the one that brings the group closer to their goals with his plans. He can't bend, but he can strategize, and that's what he focuses on, because he can control it. Avatar as a show is so good. It's such a good watch. I've watched it like 4 times, and these are just some of the lessons that I've like noticed, I guess, like on the surface. There's so many more, I bet, but like this is just kind of the ones that I saw and that pointed out to me just from memory. If you want to, let's go over them one more time. So, the first thing, we're just gonna go over everything. It is wise to have good counsel. Zuko shows us that with his uncle, right? If his uncle wasn't there, then he would have been a completely different person. And with all the characters as well, self-improvement is hard. They show us that, right? There's a lot of friction, especially Zuko. Once again, he has like physical symptoms from the friction that he has changing who he is, right? Self-improvement is not easy, and every character here shows that. They also all show that failure is inevitable, right? You must be able to get back up. If these characters gave up, then there would be no story. The same as in real life. If you give up, then you will never have a good story. You know what I'm saying? You have to keep going. With Aang, he teaches us that it's better to start late than to never begin. He was gone for 100 years. He felt bad about it, but he realized, hey, I can't change the past, but I can change the future. And because of that thought process, the world was saved. If he didn't think like that, then the world would have been done for. Katara shows us that vengeance is not the way, right? That's not how you heal from trauma. She knew that that wasn't going to help her at all, so she decided to just forget about the guy. She's like, hey, you suck. See ya. I'm not forgiving you. But I would like to add that I think that we should forgive our enemies. As Christianity says, as I made a video on it, Vinland Saga, it's very powerful to be able to forgive others, right? Forgiving your enemies is the greatest strength. Toph and Sokka both tell us 2 things: that we must accept what is unchangeable and do everything that we can with what we have, and also to not let others choose who you are. Well, that's more in Toph and Aang, but overall, all the characters I'm sure do this in some point. Some people have plans for them, but they don't let those plans change their own plan. You know what I'm saying? People be like, hey, you should do that, but they don't let that get in the way of what they actually want to do. Sokka shows us that humility is key to growing. You can't grow if you think you have nothing else left to learn. And that's all I got. Those are all the lessons that I got from Avatar: The Last Airbender. Again, please watch this show. It's so good. I've watched it like, 3 times? I think I said that already. But yeah, this show's great. I'm sorry if this feels a little rushed. I don't know. I just didn't want to make the video like half an hour long, so I just wanted to condense it, you know. I love Zuko. That's why Zuko's section is so much longer than everybody else's. But I wanted to get everybody in there, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. I make videos like this. I try to do it once a week, but it doesn't work out all the time. So I don't know. I'm not gonna give a date for anything, but I'm gonna make another one about Black Clover. I'm pretty sure, because I like that show. I just finished watching it. But yeah, that's it. I'm gonna try to upload more frequently. I know I just got a job, so it's gonna be probably a little harder to do that, but I'm gonna try my best. Yeah, that's all I got. If you'd like to learn how to be saved, I have a video should be on the left side of the screen. And if you'd like to watch the other videos of this type, it's the Vinland Saga and what's the other one? Hajime no Ippo. Those 2 videos I've already made in this same format. So if you enjoyed this video, go check those ones out. That's all I got. Thanks for watching, and praise God.